The Quran is by far the best book ever written, ever in history, and it is 100% the word of God. It is so much more deep than people ever will realize. And what has fascinated me more than anything else is the fact that I study psychology and social dynamics. And while studying psychology, I find tons of evidence that support the Quran. The messages that are in the Quran we are discovering today. And it is so extremely unfortunate that so many people turn atheist in the West. And this is because they'll go to a Christian church that is actually polytheistic because of the Trinity, and then it fails them, their prayers don't get answered, they don't get heard, and then they turn away from God entirely. When in reality, they could have just picked up the Quran and had everything right there. Their life would have been fulfilled, they would have been started walking the correct path immediately. And I don't really like talking about my past, but there's some things you guys need to understand. And I get it, as a revert, people are going to constantly come at me about the nose piercing and the tattoos. I understand where they're coming from. But when I originally reverted, I didn't even tell anybody. I said the Shahada by myself. This is because in that moment, I still didn't consider myself a Muslim because of the lifestyle I was living. I was in the adult entertainment industry. I was managing a bunch of models and completely walked away from the agency. And at the time, this was my main and really only source of income. I had an e-commerce store that was selling tarot cards, which I shut down too. So I walked away from my only source of income and just put my life in God's hands. I was like, look, I'll figure it out one way or another, something will happen. And this wasn't easy. This was not an easy thing. It was filled with anxiety and nervousness, but that anxiety was from the shaitan, was from the devil. The devil has this way of tricking you, telling you that you're never going to be okay unless you do these bad things. And all of it is false. It's a lie. But about a month later, I had somebody approach me and ask if I could do marketing for their business and they would give me acquisition of the company. So I would come into their business, I would develop a team around marketing and teach their team how to do this, and they would give me a percentage of the company. And throughout this time, I decided to dedicate myself into pure personal development. So I was studying psychology and Islam at the same time. And what has been blowing my mind is every time I find a discovery in psychology and personal development space, it's already in the Quran. Pretty much the second chapter of the Quran is a how-to guide on life. Most people just don't realize it. And there's one verse in specifically that stood out to me and which got me to start writing books. Chapter 2, verse 269. He grants wisdom to whoever he wills, and whoever is granted wisdom is certainly blessed with a great privilege. And because of that verse is why I published the self-development book, to try to share the things I learned while doing this 180 in my life. I was able to completely turn around everything I was doing and start heading back down the correct path. If you guys are interested in the book, it's on donations only, so it's in the link tree. You guys can get it for free. And now, over the last few months, I've been putting together a whole personal development course, the 7 steps I use to change my life. I've been taking my time with it. I want to make sure I have every detail correct, so it's not ready yet. But what I want to do is just share with people how to change their life the same way I did. Depression is an option. You don't have to feel depressed. You don't have to feel anxious. You don't need social anxiety. None of that is necessary. We have the answers right in front of us.